When I started writing this script, it was all about the history of Nara Dreamland and its eventual closure and abandonment. Then, just as I was finishing the script, I was thinking about life at 3 a.m. while listening to Damocles by Sleep Token, and I started thinking about the concept of abandoning theme parks. Is there a reason we do it? And if so, why? These are works of art that we just let rot, and it's very sad. I realized that Nara Dreamland is a perfect example of that. A dream by one man who saw his vision come to life, but didn't get to see what happened to it after it actually closed. After Nara Dreamland closed, it still had life to live. And even though it had been abandoned physically, the people that grew up going there hadn't forgotten it. So here's the story of Nara Dreamland, a park that went through a lot of adversity, and in the end, won. Disneyland was a huge success after it first opened in 1955. It revolutionized the concept of a theme park, and it didn't take long until competition started popping up all over the world. Companies like Six Flags, Universal, and SeaWorld formed to offer unique experiences to its guests. Some of Disney's competition were blatant rip-offs of Disneyland, and most of them didn't last very long. One theme park inspired by Disney was located in Japan. Its name was Nara Dreamland.
Hey you, do you live in Disney World?
Nope.
Exactly. Do you wish you lived in Disney World?
No, not really.
Well, that doesn't matter. This video is brought to you by Magic Candle Company. I love these scents. I have these candles burning all the time in my office while I'm making these videos and writing these scripts. I've been a customer of Magic Candle Company for a long time. My favorite scent is probably Flying Over Africa. They are so authentic and smell exactly like the actual attraction. It's insane. I personally recommend going to magiccandlecompany.com and getting one of their bundles because you get 4 of their magical fragrances, either the candle bundles or the fragrance oil bundles. I personally love, and I know you will love them too. And check this out, I have a deal for you. If you buy any product, you can get 15% off if you use my code BigBeautifulDiz15 for 15% off your order. Just put it in the discount code. It'll work. You can save some money. And yeah, thank you so much to Magic Candle Company for sponsoring this video. Again, BigBeautifulDiz15. Go to magiccandlecompany.com. Thank you, and back to the video.
After World War II, the United States and Japan became allies, as the U.S. led the occupation and reconstruction of Japan after the war. This included dismantling the military and implementing reforms. The U.S. also provided aid and support to Japan to help rebuild its economy. Japan embraced democracy, rejected militarism, and relied on the U.S. for security. Because of this, Japanese citizens became fascinated by American culture, and it became very popular. A Japanese businessman named Kunizu Matsuo was interested in America and took a trip to Los Angeles. During his trip, he visited Disneyland and was blown away by what he saw. He was so impressed that he came up with an idea for a Disneyland in Nara, Japan. He loved the idea of having a Disneyland in Japan so much that he decided to try and have a meeting with Walt Disney to discuss potential plans. The plans included a park very similar to the original Disneyland park, with a main street, a central hub, and some of the same attractions. Mr. Matsuo also wanted to include Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, and Adventureland. Instead of Frontierland, the park would have a land themed to ancient Japan. The park would be located in Nara, Japan, due to the Nara Prefecture's importance to Japan's history. Nara was Japan's first capital from 710 to 794. With the help of WED Enterprises, construction had already started on the park under the name Japanese Dream Sightseeing Company and was well underway. Everything was looking exactly like Disneyland as intended. There was one problem. JDCSC didn't like the amount of money Disney wanted to use the license for its characters and imaging. So Mr. Matsuo wasn't able to reach a deal with Disney, and they decided to open the park with a different name, Nara Dreamland. New names for attractions, new names for lands, and new mascots were put into place. But it was painfully obvious what this park was based on. Nara Dreamland even had its own Sleeping Beauty castle. It looks like when your buddy asks you to copy your answers on the quiz and you tell him to not make it so obvious. Nara Dreamland opened on July 1st, 1961. It was successful, welcoming 1.6 million guests at its peak popularity. It added a few attractions after opening day, including a kids coaster, a boat ride based on Pirates of the Caribbean, a wooden roller coaster called Aska based on the Cyclone at Coney Island, and the Screw Coaster. The park replaced Ancestorland with a brand new water park. The other attractions at Nara Dreamland included a roller coaster based on the Matterhorn bobsleds called Bobsleigh, a shooting dark ride called Gallantry, fantasy coaster, a coaster in the dark, go-karts, a teacup attraction that resembled Mad Tea Party, a haunted maze, and a jungle attraction based on the Jungle Cruise. In 1964, a sister park located in Yokohama opened. This park was called Yokohama Dreamland and was famous for its monorail. The monorail opened in May 1966, but was suspended in September 1967. The monorail service was suspended due to structural issues with the rail because of how cheaply it was built. The closure was supposed to be temporary, but a lawsuit was filed after the monorail closed and its infrastructure deteriorated beyond repair during the legal process. A few attempts were made to fix the line, but it was never fixed. It was eventually demolished in 2003. Due to financial troubles, Yokohama Dreamland closed in 2002 and was demolished to make way for the Yokohama College of Pharmacy. Question that some might be asking: if the Disney influence was so apparent in the park, why didn't Disney sue? It's an interesting thought, but they couldn't. Technically, Nara Dreamland didn't break any copyright infringement, and I don't think Disney ever really cared enough to pursue legal action. The park was a success, but the number of visitors started to slowly decline year by year. But a series of unfortunate events would happen for Nara Dreamland. First was the opening of Tokyo Disneyland in 1983. It's debated if the mediocre success of Nara Dreamland inspired the Oriental Land Company to build Tokyo Disneyland, and it may have. We'll probably never know. The Oriental Land Company was able to reach a licensing agreement with the Walt Disney Company and open Tokyo Disneyland in April 1983. Tokyo Disneyland was an immediate success. In its first year of operation, it welcomed 10 million guests. Nara Dreamland could never even dream about reaching those numbers. Sadly, on January 1st, 1984, Kunizo Matsuo passed away. His work can be looked at and laughed at, but there's something inspiring about a man having a dream and making that dream come true. That's exactly what Mr. Matsuo did. Rest in peace to this man. Strangely, in 1993, Nara Dreamland was sold to Dai, one of the largest supermarket chains in Japan. Why did they buy it? No clue, because they didn't make any important changes or additions. They literally did nothing with the park. In 2001, there was new competition in town, Universal Studios Japan. This park is located in Osaka, just 25 miles away from Nara Dreamland. It also welcomed 11 million guests in its first year. Also, Tokyo Disney Sea opened in 2001 as well. This was devastating for Nara Dreamland, because both of these parks are able to provide attraction and experiences that are light years better than anything Nara Dreamland has to offer. This led to Nara Dreamland only welcoming 400,000 guests. Many of the park's rides started to shut down, and the park's maintenance started lacking quite a bit. On August 31st, 2006, Nara Dreamland would close. There was an event celebrating the park, but it wasn't very well attended. This is the part of the story where I should talk about the demolition of the park and what it is now. That didn't happen. Nara Dreamland wasn't destroyed. It was left exactly the way it was on closing day. The park was already in bad shape when it shut down, but it just got worse as the years went on. Plants started to overgrow. Eventually, weeds almost took over the entire park. Even the parking lot was left untouched. The rides were completely untouched, so things like props, ride vehicles, and animatronics were still left in the buildings. Most of the attractions were half destroyed, and the dark rides sat in pitch black darkness since there was no power source for the lights. The park, of course, had a monorail. Wonder what happened to it after the park closed? Of course, the track was left exactly where it was, and the entire monorail was left in the station, now covered in graffiti. The most unbelievable thing of all is that there was no security in sight. The only thing that separated the public from Nara Dreamland was a gate that you could easily slip past, and a fence past the box office that had a giant hole in it. To make things even more creepy, Nara Dreamland was fully visible to the surrounding areas. It was no secret that there was an abandoned theme park in Nara, Japan. Also, there was a bus stop that dropped off visitors directly across the street. What do you think happened? That's right, urban exploring. When you have an abandoned theme park that looks like a Disney park and no security, you are practically inviting urban explorers to come in. That's exactly what they did. Nara Dreamland became a big destination for urban exploring. Areas of the parks were vandalized, things were stolen, and graffiti artists used areas of the park to showcase their art. What is essentially criminal activity was happening here, and it seemed like no one really cared. In many instances, there would be multiple urban exploring groups in the park at the same time. In this blog post by Simone Armour, he detailed another group that was in the park when he was there that climbed the mountain and hung out there for most of the day. Blog posts and YouTube videos started being released about people's explorations. Explorers discovered that roller coaster cars were still on the tracks and entire gift shops were still stocked. I don't think many people think about how sad it is when an area of a theme park is left abandoned. To many people, Nara Dreamland included, they grew up going to these places and have great memories there. When that thing is then abandoned, we look at those memories differently. Abandonment can be an interesting thing. In this case, going to a place you associated great memories with can trigger many different emotions. Typically, it reminds us that things are different now. That's the downside about reminiscing. It can remind us about things we have lost. Let's think of Nara Dreamland as a person for a minute. Someone who was loved by the people around them. Then one day that love was gone. That person then fades over time and becomes something new. In this scenario, unfortunately, that's not a good outcome. I bet you know someone like that. It became a tradition for explorers to take the park's character statues and make them depict scenes. So here's a pirate Viking riding in an attraction. Some of these are genuinely terrifying, like this chipmunk thing. In 2013, Nara City's government gained control of Nara Dreamland after it went into foreclosure. The site was then put up for auction, which received 0 bids. During various explorations, some people heard a very strange noise near the jungle boat ride. This noise was captured on a video posted by the proper people. It's speculated that this noise was a bullfrog.
Just some creepy ass animals.
Which are massive frogs that are native, I think, to Japan. There was a song written by Nicole Dollanganger called Nara Dreamland. It's about sneaking into the park and her feeling of sadness seeing it. She describes the feeling of memories being lost by seeing the park in such a way. In November 2015, the property was put up for auction again. This time there was one bidder, an Osaka-based real estate company called SK Housing. The company won with a bid of 730 million yen. That's 6 million in US dollars. Nara Dreamland was abandoned for 10 years. Some of the pictures and videos captured by explorers are pretty creepy. Specifically the haunted house. There's no way I could ever be an urban explorer because seeing these things in person in the darkness would scare me so bad. Finally, in 2016, preparations for demolition would begin in May. SK Housing would place, quote, a ton of scaffolding on the parking lot at the main entrance and install 2 new construction fences. Nothing happened for months after that until September, when offices and heavy machinery were spotted at the site. A Japanese magazine reported that demolition had begun at Nara Dreamland. This was confirmed by a Reddit user who shared a picture of the main street being demolished. Demolition was confirmed on October 14th, 2016. In the next few days, Main Street was littered with rubble. The iconic Dreamland sign that once stood above the entrance was gone too. By November 10th, 2016, Main Street was completely torn down. Somehow, even though it was an active demolition site, people were still able to sneak in and get pictures. Thank you for doing this, by the way, because we get these pictures of Aska being torn down the same day and the next day, November 11, 2016. By December 6, 2016, most of the park was gone. Chris Luckhart posted this picture. At the time, only the monorail and some of the buildings in the water park remained. In February 2017, it was reported by Dezine that the demolition of Nara Dreamland was complete. This was confirmed in March 2017 by a blogger on pipeaway.com. The park was now nothing but a graveyard of rubble, an empty field that once brought joy to millions. It has been reported that SK Housing was going to build a retirement home on this property, but 8 years later, it is still an empty plot of land. It's unclear why there hasn't been any construction started in 8 years, but we know that SK Housing still owns the property because there's a trespass warning with the company's logo on the gates. It's very strange that this land is still technically abandoned. What's even more strange is I couldn't find a single update on what is going to be built on this land. But at least it's not a rotting theme park anymore. Things get abandoned all the time, and it's okay for them to rot. But Nara Dreamland deserves so much more than to be replaced with nothing. So, is it really worth it in the end?